starts asking questions. And we will get to the page where Ricky starts asking questions. That will be our third page of the evening. But first, what we need to do is have Ricky get some time off from his crappy job. So we are sending Ricky's boss away so that Ricky can start working on his submarine. And just as a recap for anyone who might be new here to this project, what we are doing with Ricky is he has heard a voice, the voice of God or whatever, and his interpretation is that he was told to build a submarine and go forth into the sea to get the big shiny rock from that shipwreck movie. So he's been trying to figure out how to do all this. Ricky does not know anything about submarines or the ocean, etc. And one key thing that's been holding him back is he's got this job. Ricky works at a recording studio. This is his boss, Big Mike, who's a big-time record producer. So finally, Ricky's going to get a chance to work on that submarine because Big Mike is going to be away in Hawaii working. So that's what this page is about, at least the top. And then we will get to the bottom. This kind of looks like Big Mike just has super long hair coming out of his ears, but it's supposed to be he's fuming mad. And so one of the B stories, what the asking questions is about, is that we have been, throughout this book, there's been a B story of intrusive ads popping up, kind of referencing what's been going on in the story and whatnot. So that's the questions that Ricky is going to be starting to notice and wonder about. So that's your basic background. I realize people will be coming in and out throughout the stream, and I'm sure I'll repeat myself later on. So we got Big Mike here. You don't look happy? Well, he's not happy. You know, he's insanely busy at the studio, but you'll be able to see as things get filled in. It doesn't really look like he's working. But hypothetically speaking, this aspect of Big Mike, possibly, sort of, allegedly based on certain individuals I used to work with. I knew one individual in particular who his assistant would be doing all this grunt work, and he would be on the laptop at the back of the room playing World of Warcraft. And then his people would call him, and he'd pick up his cell phone, and he'd be saying, "I'm very busy. I'm insanely busy." It's like, no, your assistant's insanely busy. You're sitting on your ass at the back of the control room playing World of Warcraft. Anyways, couldn't resist using that as inspiration for Big Mike. So Big Mike here, always wearing a Hawaiian shirt. So we're not going to be too detailed in his patterns, but we will give him some nice little pretty flowers for his shirt. So in terms of what I'm going to be live streaming with this book, we are getting very close to the point where I stopped working on it on camera. I think I calculated earlier, if I don't miss any streams, I have missed a couple lately, and if I'm able to do 3 pages per stream when I'm streaming, well then we will be done this segment of the book up to the point where I'm going to stop on stream so I don't give away spoilers by, I think not the third Friday of August, because I know I'll be away and not streaming that day, but yeah, kind of the third week of August. 14th, there won't be a stream, so I guess that would be the 21st, then would be the last night, but it depends. I mean, if I end up having a couple where I only get 2 pages done, well, then we'll be here till September. Anyways, why am I using the, oh, okay. I remember I usually use that thicker nib to outline speech bubbles, so I'll just quickly fill in Big Mike's yelling, and then we will grab that other nib. Big Mike's not too thrilled about being caught on camera or comic. Hello, Desmond. Welcome to the stream. Big Mike is not happy about getting caught with what we're about to draw here. It's not a camera, though. It's a pen. But, you know, whatever. I feel like he needs another flower here. And I can't forget the ketchup and mustard stains. Big Mike is a big, well-known record producer, but he's also a slob. So he always kind of has sauce stains of some sort on his tank top. And there we go. So there's Big Mike. Oh yes, I need to switch nibs. Desmond says, nice drawing. Why, thank you. So we will get a bit of a thicker line. It just helps the speech bubbles to pop out a bit more, especially because this is a totally black and white book. So you kind of don't get that ability to differentiate just based on it being black and white. What I'm doing in between is I do have 3 bowls with water. This one's already looking black because it's got ink. So when I'm not using a given pen, it's hanging out in one of the bowls off there so that the ink kind of starts to dissolve out and certainly doesn't dry and get all hard and crusty. Excuse me. So what is Big Mike working on or with? Well, you can kind of see it in that will be our third. I just realized I'm monitoring the stream on my laptop so I can make sure that I'm, you know, in frame and all that. And I just realized it wasn't actually running. So anyways, yeah, so Big Mike. This does not look like he's at a recording studio, but who knows? Maybe he is, but he's definitely not working. So what am I? Desmond is asking. So what am I a fan of? You don't mind me asking. And also, hello, Sebastian. Welcome to the stream. I'm a fan of a lot of things. You mean specifically within comics or music, other stuff, like influences? For comics, my actual kind of inspiration was I grew up reading like the newspaper funny stuff like Bloom County and Calvin and Hobbes, Peanuts, all that sort of stuff. This is definitely not that family friendly as anything. Background in music as well. Spent a little bit of time on the kind of on the fringes of the studio audio engineering scene, not for very long, but in Vancouver. I was a DJ at CITR Radio, like campus community radio in Vancouver for, God, I think in total I was on air for about 9 or 10 years, but with a bit of a gap in between. So my specialty there was I was initially the kind of the industrial electronic noise kind of DJ, and there was another girl who had a goth show, and then eventually I was the only goth DJ. Grew up listening to a lot of punk and stuff like that, 80s rock like Motley Crue, Hanoi Rocks, Guns N' Roses, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of like this kind of storyline is influenced by some of like the stories of like 80s rock excess and whatnot. So that kind of comes in terms of more recent reading with graphic novels and whatnot. I mean, actually, earlier this afternoon, I was reading Brian Michael Bendis's Fortune and Glory, the musical. So I'd already read Fortune and Glory, which is his story about when Hollywood came calling, and nothing ever came of it. But because he did a lot of work with like Spider-Man, and he's written tons of comics and all that for Marvel and all the rest. I think he's the one who came up with who invented the character Miles Morales, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so, anyways, it was a really funny kind of graphic memoir. And I'm currently about halfway through the sequel where he originally was, well, not original like the first one, but he was one of the guys asked to help write like the Spider-Man musical, Broadway musical that ended up losing something like $70 million or something. Um, so I'm at the point where he was going to a meeting with this Broadway producer, and she had all sorts of goofy, non-canon ideas about Spider-Man. And anyway, so that's one of the things I've been reading. Just started getting into a graphic novel series called I Hate Fairyland. So that's really funny. It's the story of this young girl, like she's supposed to be 6 or 7, and she wishes to be carried away to a magical fantasy land. And then it happens, and immediately she's like, "No, I want to go home." She ends up in fairyland, and then she has to find this key. And anyways, you have this prologue, and then the next page is she's been stuck in fairyland for like 27 years, 30 years, trying to get the key to get out, and she's just become this like complete psycho. Um, anyways, so I've read the first, like, I guess it's the first 5 issues that were collected into one book, and then when I decided I liked it enough, I actually bought the compendium. But I haven't had a chance to read any further yet this summer. What else? In terms of rock music, well, I mentioned like Motley Crue and whatnot. Got and I was big into the Sex Pistols and whatnot. Like our main character Ricky, who we're gonna see kind of down here, he's a punk rock dude who idolizes Sid Vicious. Definitely not not necessarily a true to life idea of Sid Vicious, but kind of like the icon version of Sid. Um, so like when I got into punk when I was like 14 in like the early 90s, um, like I remember going down to like the bookstores in downtown Vancouver and buying things like England's Dreaming, all these kind of music journalism books about the Pistols and all that sort of stuff. And um, so, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place because then, what was it last year? Last year on my Spotify, I think my number one band was Motley Crue. My number one song was Dr. Feelgood, but my number one album was the Nutcracker. It's like really weird range. So there's stuff I mean, I also not really an expert in it by any means, but definitely was into and still am into like some of the swing revival stuff, like Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and whatnot. I don't pretend to be an expert in that though. It's more like I have certain albums that I really like, and then other artists I just either haven't heard of or haven't heard yet. So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. Movies. It's kind of hard to say because I don't watch a lot of films these days. Um, and of the movies, like when I was a teenager, when I did watch a lot of movies, some of them I've seen again since, and it's like I can't believe I ever watched this. um, but always kind of liked some of. I'm just trying to think. How does Big Mike's hand go here? Oh yeah, something like that. Some of like the old timey musicals. Like one of my favorite movies as a kid was White Christmas. I'd watch it like year round. So all sorts of kind of random stuff. Now I'm thinking, which wrist is okay? That's not the wrist that Big Mike has his Rolex on. That's the wrist he has his big gold, heavy gold chain bracelet on. We got to give him kind of bingo wings over there. China Ellie, I hope I said that right, says, hello, I love this kind of cartoon style. Why, thank you. Glad you do. So now we gotta draw the bimbo. I think I'm gonna make it this girl a different girl than that one. Or wait, no, it's saying that it's a specific girlfriend he's with. So I guess we'll give her the same hair for consistency. And so that his wife will be enraged when she sees this comic. Big Mike is obviously not a moral role model by any means. Seems like this, where every so often, friends from church will be, oh, what are you working on? I'm thinking, don't watch my live streams. Although I think part of the point of the story is Big Mike is kind of an antagonist and a negative example of do the opposite of whatever Big Mike does in his personal life. Every so often, like the narrator is Ricky, and some of the short stories I have, Ricky will report on something that Big Mike tells him, horrible advice or whatever. And Ricky will he won't say it to Big Mike because he doesn't want to get in trouble with, Big Mike is his boss, but he'll just kind of say as an aside to the reader or listener or whatever, well, I think thinking like that's kind of why Big Mike been divorced 3, 4 times already, but, I wasn't going to say nothing. It's none of my business. So, yeah, that girl. Should we make the mustard stains match? Let's give him different mustard stains. Like he has a different stained tank top. Big Mike's attitude is he can dress like a slob because he's a big time record producer, and that's why the girls put up with him, which is fine with him because he only puts up with them for one thing. So it's kind of a fair transaction in his mind. And that there is underboob. I may Photoshop. Yeah, as I'm looking, it's gonna look like it's a mistake, so we'll just fill in the bottom part of her bikini top so it doesn't look like something weird is going on. Well, I mean, something weird and improper is going on, but you know, in terms of costume wardrobe malfunctions. Here we go. I guess specific influences for this book. There's a couple. I mean, we have the B plot that we're going to be getting into on the next 2 pages, where we've had these intrusive ads popping up um, that have to do with stuff that Ricky has mentioned in telling the story, but which is kind of, you know, a nod to what goes on now in like social media and stuff like that. That, you know, even if you have all your privacy settings done, you know, the proper way and whatnot, you still find that, you know, you have a conversation with your friend and not on the social media, just your phone is in your pocket. And then suddenly, you know, 3 or 4 days later, guess what? You know, your friend had mentioned something that you don't even care about. So it's not even part of your interests, and suddenly an ad for it is showing up in your feeds. So that kind of thing is an influence here. And then the bit with going to the Titanic wreck. Well, this story was written about a month after the Titan submersible incident in 2023. Myself and one of my pals on Facebook, we are kind of obsessed with that case and like watched all the Coast Guard hearings about the negligence and all that. And so a certain amount of, say, Ricky here is trying to put together his submarine, and he's using old bass drums and amplifier cabinets they got cleaning out the storage loft at the recording studio he works with, and then he's also going to be trying to stick it together with duct tape. So you know, I mean, it's absurd. It's kind of black humor, like morbid humor, and kind of influenced from that news story. Um, so it's a bit all over the place. Now, what I'm drawing here, this door is, he's previously mentioned that when Big Mike ordered him to clean out the storage loft at the recording studio, Ricky saw it all as like things he can use to build his submarine. So like old like Marshall amp cabinets and broken bass drums and all this sort of stuff, and he took it home rather than taking it to the dump, and he's loaded it into his mother's garden shed. So these are the doors of the shed. And he put on a sign that says top secret. Ricky can't spell, so, you know, actually working on a painting of Ricky for my local fall fair, where the reference photo was taken at one end of, like, you know, we have the hall exhibits, you know, the flowers and the baked goods, and quilts are in a different, out in a different building, but, you know, knitting and all that sort of stuff. And there's also, because I live in Canada and recreational marijuana is legal here now, they actually have a division for homegrown cannabis. And I have no idea how they judge it. I think based on the looks, because as far as I know, the judges don't smoke it to to test the quality or whatever. I don't know. I think it's just visual inspection. But there is like a locked case, and I had this idea of Ricky making him hearing about this and making his own homemade badge that says official judge, but it's misspelled, like OFISHULJUJ. So it's kind of, anyways, point is it's a running joke that Ricky can't spell. So here we have top secret, and he can't spell secret either. I think what I'm going to do when I take that painting to the fair, and hopefully I'll have time to finish it this August and whatnot, is so I'll go in this year. I'm not going to call it "Take Me to Your Weeds" section. I'm gonna say "Take Me to Your Cheese" section. Our fair does not have a cheese section, but you know, some fairs do. So there we go. And I'm just gonna put some indication here of the grass, and I need something finer than that. Use the crow quill. Let's add some wood texture here on the fence. You don't have to do too much, but you know. Probably thicken up some lines underneath to give it a little bit of a sense of shadow. Then we finally get to draw our protagonist Ricky in the very next panel. It looks like these doors don't match, so we'll assume Ricky is the one who built this shed. He does a lot of the yard work. Mama Rat doesn't really do any of that. She just yells at Ricky to do chores. And hey, I mean, he lives in her basement, so, you know, probably not paying her actual rent, so mowing the lawn's kind of the least he can do. We'll see. In the final book, I may Photoshop the text to go down into 2 lines, in which case then I would have to, in Photoshop, kind of adjust the shed, or I may just kind of leave it as it is. The spacing's a little wonky, but, you know. All right, now, oh, well, before we do Ricky, I always put these extra thick lines in between the panels. So, got one more that we need to do here. Now we can draw Ricky. And he is definitely, he had previously, I think in the last stream we had Ricky getting ready to build this sub, and he had ordered what he described as a ton of duct tape, 8 rolls, which he figured was plenty for assembling a submarine. Don't think the Marine Safety Board would approve of that, but he always wears these little sunglasses. Box cutter here. Everything is stuck to the walls with duct tape, whether that's intentional or whether that was just the only way to get the duct tape off his fingers, who knows? I don't think he understands either. He's gotten himself thoroughly stuck. I mean, of course, worst case scenario, he can always yell. He could yell, for help from Mama Rat, but the problem with that is then Mama Rat's going to know he's trying to go to sea, and he determined he didn't want to tell her that because she'll get all upset and try and stop him. So there was a whole fight with his cousin Darren about that a few pages ago. So there is Ricky stuck in the duct tape. And now we come to another one of our intrusive little ads. And he guesses on what it's going to be advertising. Well, I guess I already put it down in front of the camera. So do I want to maybe use a different nib here? Let's see what I've got for calligraphy nibs, not just drawing nibs. I've got a whole little container that has nibs here off to the side. I know I've got some in here that kind of have flatter tips. I thought I did anyways. Yeah, like that one. So let's see what this does. Basically, I just want to make the text look slightly different than what a lot of the other text in the ads elsewhere in this book look like. So that's not going to work. That's too rounded and looks exactly like what I've done here. Hang on. What I'm looking for is one that's kind of got like the italic style, like a very crisp kind of thing. If need be, I can do it with not a dip pen. Let's see if this one works a little better. It's kind of a little bit more in the ballpark. So let's see. I probably need to work on my calligraphy a little bit more. Anyways. This is one of those things too where if I decided that I really wanted the lettering um, a certain way, it's something that I can always do on a separate page, scan, and then assemble it in Photoshop. After practicing what I want these letters to look like. More work for when I'm assembling the book. Well, the truth is, there's always more work when you're assembling a book. This week, um, I have been working on the first Noah's Archipelago book, which is one of my other projects. And I thought, oh, I am like so close to sending this off, uploading it to Amazon. And then I did the draft, or the draft was there, but I updated the draft and realized, like, oh, I am nowhere near, you know, got like another, even just in terms of bonus illustrations, I got like another 7 or 8 that I wanted to add. I've done 4 of those today, but give the sense of whiskers. I gotta this tape it. Um, anyways, point is, you always end up having extra work when you're working on a book. And I think for basically, I'm trying to give this sense of like slash through lines, but also almost like the letters are going in on themselves and sticking to themselves the way that that Ricky got caught in the tape. Anyways, we will set that nib aside and go back to our drawing nib. And the big thing too is with stuff like this, especially because that's easy to Photoshop or like draw it elsewhere and then Photoshop them together. It's kind of good to give it a shot, but definitely more practice with some of those other nibs. With the ones I always draw with, I'm usually pretty well versed in making the line I want with them, but this calligraphy nibs, apparently not so much. One thing for anyone who's kind of new to my cartoons is Ricky and company live in a town called Ratsville, and in the state of Ratland. And one of the curious things there is everything and pretty much everyone has rat in their name or reference to cheese. So I think we want the crow quill for this, I believe, probably. So of course it's Sticky Rat is the duct tape. That wasn't working. Let's try the glass pen. Here I'm not trying to get an exact accurate texture for duct tape, but that kind of crisscrossing kind of feel that it often has. So thing I find with the glass pens, and I don't know if it's just because I'm getting cheap ones from Amazon, but the tips are a little weird. They're inconsistent. If you draw on one side, you get a very thick line. You turn it a quarter turn, you get nothing. And I find even sometimes it seems to depend on the day, you know. Sometimes it seems like no matter how I twist and turn the glass pen, it's not working, and this is one of those days. So let's go back to the crow quill, which is also kind of sometimes a pain in the butt. But actually for like the longest time, for years, I could never get crow quills to draw at all. And now I get them to draw about 40% of the time. Yeah, we got a little bit of a smudge there. It's annoying, but we will deal with it. I'm sure at the end, there'll be some pages where I'm just going to go, you know what? I'm just going to redraw this. And this roll of tape might be one of them. The more I think about it, the less it looks like a proper roll of duct tape. So that might be something where, you know, I get to the end of working on the book, I'm going to do what I just did for the Noah's Archipelago book that I'm also working on, where I went through the PDF and page by page, just made notes like, okay, page 37. This word has funny spacing in the typing. You know, I don't like the hyphenation on line 13, you know, etc. You have an ink smudge here. Deal with it, you know. So they'll end up being one of those, and there'll probably be some pages where it's like, just redraw it. On the other hand, I've said that about some other pages in this book, and now when I look back at them, I'm like, nah, I like that. It works. It's messy, but it works. So anyways, we've got Ratlin's Finest. Part of the thing, too, with graphic novels, like any other art, is just kind of going like, when do you need to redo it? When do you need to fuss over it more? When do you need to just say, you know what, good enough? And it depends on the page. Anyways. And sometimes also, like, you may like part of a page, and you can just redraw only parts of it and then Frankenstein it all together in Photoshop. We're going to have reference to Mouseland's finest, because across the canyon from Ratland is Mouseland. And in Mouston, like their big city, is about an hour's drive from Ratsville across the canyon. And the rats and the mice don't really get along. Now, if you've seen some of my Miles Morov videos, oh dear Lord. Like I just realized I didn't write the D. That's okay. This page probably getting redrawn. It is what it is. But I will finish the duct tape at the bottom because this is like an amusement ride for rats. Hi, Grime 69. No, what it is we've got kind of a B story in this graphic novel where there's intrusive ads. So on the previous page, we had our main character Ricky, and he's trying to build himself a submarine out of old like guitar amp parts. Like that would be, I guess, a ride, but a one-way ride. Anyways, he's trying to assemble it with duct tape. So we have now this, which is supposed to be an ad for Sticky Rat duct tape brand. I realize I'm making enough mistakes on this page, I'll end up just redrawing it, but some parts I may keep, like this bottom with the lettering for duct tape. So anyways, the B story is about, like the A story is Ricky building this submarine, and he wants to go to the wreck of the Titanic because he thinks he's going to find the big shiny rock from the shipwreck movie so he can give it to his girlfriend and impress her. And he does not know anything about the sea. Parts of the story were kind of inspired by the whole Ocean Gate thing when you find out just how incompetent... Oh, yeah, anyways, let's not get on a rant about Stockton Rush. But the B story has to do with intrusive advertising and stuff like that. So Ricky is about to, on the very next page, start noticing this ad, for whatever reason, is the one where he finally goes, wait a minute, what's up with all these frickin' ads in my comic book? So then we're going to have the B story. So throughout the book, Ricky as the narrator, whatever he's talking about, not everything, but often what he's talking about, then the story will get interrupted and there's an ad about it. So, and then because they're in Ratsville, most of the businesses have the word rat in the business title somehow. So this is Sticky Rat Duct Tape. And much earlier, we had Rat Buster video and that sort of thing. So kind of realizing with this page in particular, like a long time ago, I was really into that whole like hand-drawn typography trend, like getting close to 20 years ago, and I used to practice a lot, and I can tell it's like, okay, I think I need to practice more again. Actually, this fall, I'm going to see, we do have where I live, there is like a calligraphy club. And it used to be that I could never make the meetings, but I think I'm going to have to check when they meet, but I think I may be able to start going, which would be kind of fun. It's like everybody else, I know I've seen some of their exhibitions and work from members and whatnot. It'll be like somebody taking an inspiring quote from philosophy or, you know, great literature and whatnot, and then they write it out, and I'm just envisioning if I join the group, then it would be like applying calligraphy to stuff like drunk rats trying to make submarines out of garbage parts of guitar. guitars and whatnot. Maybe I'd have a second piece where I write out the lyrics to that. Is it Sesame Street? One of these things is not like the other one. One of these things just doesn't belong. And tell them to hang that next to mine. So far, not that I want to get all cocky, but I'm liking how the duct tape at least is turning out in the lettering. And that's the thing, even when you have a page where you're making mistakes, it's like, ah, well, you just finish it off. Because later on, there may be parts where I'll go, okay, I can use this part, and just redraw everything else. All right, there is our Sticky Rat ad, such as it is. I am happy with the duct tape thing. So now we go on to page 3. I'm just going to carefully drop that on the floor behind me. It's okay, it's out of range of the wheels of my chair. So now we have Ricky has noticed the ads finally, and he's not happy. And this is going to be on the right-hand side. So he's going to be pointing directly at the Sticky Rat tape ad. So, and this one we have not lettered yet. Most of the lettering I did with Staedtler pigment liners. But some, especially if he's yelling, I've left and I've been drawing them as I go along. So it looks a little messier, a little more unhinged. So it's because the line is just a little bit unpredictable. Which I think works when it's, you know, kind of, I mean, I don't know if I'd say he's breaking the fourth wall, but he's interrupting his own narration to. Yes. Speech bubbles get a slightly thicker line. Where is the right nib? Leaving this open because I'm assuming his ears are going to pop up in front of the speech bubble. So Now that his ears and the top of his hair is drawn in, I can just kind of come in here and it gives a sense that he's in front of his own speech bubble. I think this is the recycled Bristol board that's kind of got a bit of a vellum surface. I definitely feel like my pen nib is digging in. So I always recommend if you're working with a dip pen, especially anything with a finer line, you want the smoothest Bristol board you can get. And the nib will still kind of dig into the smooth Bristol board, but some of the other ones it really kind of gouges almost, and then you get like paper fluff kind of crud underneath inside the nib. And anyways, it's a pain in the butt. So I mentioned a little earlier that if all goes well, the section of this book that I'm going to ink on stream, like up to the point where I think going any further, I would start giving away spoilers. I should have that done by certainly the end of August, and maybe even mid-August, depends how many pages I get done in a stream. Today we're going to stop after this one, so be a little bit of a shorter stream, but that's because guess who forgot to finish drawing the next page. Well, most of the pages of the book are drawn, but some of the ad stuff hadn't gotten there because I didn't expect to be drawing as quickly today as I have been drawing. Anyways, I'm going to be kind of changing up. I've already made some changes to my YouTube schedule because I was doing like 6 live streams a night, or sorry, my brain is a little fried. See, it's been a long day. 6 live streams per week, Monday through Saturday, like 5 different projects, and then like a weekly recap. But I've already started where I was doing some pre-recorded stuff for the Monday through Thursday this week, and I think I'm actually just going to do those process videos as shorts. But I am going to, at least my plan is to continue doing a Friday night stream working on Ricky B. Rat graphic novels, because when this book is done, or as done as I'm going to do it on camera, I've got 2 more Ricky graphic novels, so I would just kind of maintain the Friday night live stream. So I was talking earlier about Mouston being on the other side of the canyon. Well, in the probably the next book I do is one that involves Ricky going over to Mouston and getting into trouble there at the behest of his girlfriend's cousin Miles, who is half mouse, half rat. And we've met Miles, not in this project, but I was on Monday nights. I was streaming, working on a project that's all about Miles. So, anyways, that will be fun to get going on, which also means I need to start drawing the pages. I have the story written, but need to actually start drawing the pages so that, you know, come a month from now or September at the latest, I'm ready to just start on that one. So, anyways, that's kind of exciting. And then this book, I'm pretty sure this one, Ricky B Goes to Sea, I assume is going to be out sometime next year. I don't think it's realistic that I would get this one out this year. And also, it's kind of, I guess, funny. Funny, not haha, but, you know, goofy, ridiculous, however you want to go. But because I've had delays in various projects over the last few years, I'm getting the completions bunched up. So the first Noah's Archipelago, which was, I was doing Noah's Archipelago as my webcomic, and now I decided to move it into like a book project instead of, you know, multiple short comics every week. So that one I am finishing up with the book layout and whatnot. So that should be ready to go to Amazon sometime in August, and then it'll be Amazon print on demand. And then I have to go through a few, one or two rounds of author proofs, so I have no idea whether it'll be ready for sale in September or whether it'll be ready for sale closer to December or what. And then I have another book, which is like a compendium or omnibus of my very first webcomic, Sommel the Destroyer, from like 20 years ago. I never got around to doing a book of it, so that will be coming out hopefully before, even if it just squeaks by on like the day, you know, the last day of the year or whatnot. I do want that one to come out in 2026 for the 20th anniversary. That one's almost done. I've got a Noah's Archipelago coloring book that should be done in the next couple months. And then this one, but this one I would think probably, I wouldn't expect it to be out any sooner than February, and it might be closer to March. Just to kind of space things out and whatnot. Anyways, so that's kind of a rough timeline. Decided I'm not going to be doing the Saturday recap streams because it's kind of like, well, if I'm drawing stuff on camera and posting it as shorts or whatever, then it kind of doesn't make, you know, it's kind of redundant to then also have a stream where I'm like showing the work and like, this is what I did on the stream yesterday. I'll post some of that stuff on my like Substack blog, I guess. But I have an idea that I'll probably start trying to do like a monthly vlog. In February of this year, I was trying to do a weekly vlog and it was just way too much. But I'm thinking if I kind of film in August and try and have like an August vlog posted for like a couple weeks later and sometime mid-September, like doing it once a month, I think would work. We'll try it. The worst that can happen is it's not a good idea and I stop doing it, right? Anyway, so there's a little bit of blathering, you know, inside baseball blathering or whatever. And I am working on, aside from the graphic novels, I'm also working on a collection of illustrated short stories narrated by Ricky, where I'll just do like certain scenes. Having those drawings kind of interspersed with the story, so that I mean, I expect I will be working on that through the end of next July. So I guess it would be out sometime in late 2027. Yeah, where is Talk about kind of meta. You've got an annoying ad about annoying ads being annoying. And I think it does show up in the camera that it is also selling an ad blocker. By the way, areas where the blue kind of goes around, this is a non-photo blue. And when I scan this in black and white, the blue should pretty much all disappear. Sometimes if it's been pressed a little bit hard, you may see a little bit showing through, but then it's much easier to remove that one little bit here and there in Photoshop than it is to, you know, scan in color or grayscale and then try and get rid of it. Honey Train says, I know what might cheer you up, draw Buzz the Bee from Honey Nut Cheerios. We'll see when I finish this page. I'm not interrupting the stuff that I've got scheduled. When I am done, then we will see at that point. Speaking of non-photo blue, I'm going to change how I have the 3000 because frankly I ran out of room. Do that, you know what, maybe I'll just make it extra skinny. It kind of fit it in. And then of course the price of the ad blocker. And now we separate the panels with the really big nib, and I've got like 6 different pens in my water bowl, so I gotta find the right one. I think this is it, yeah. flip it upside down just for easier access to do this line. Hello, Sean Lynch. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Because Ricky's pissed off in this panel, trying to make it kind of make things more angular, sharper. So, because that even just your line quality kind of helps to convey the story too, right? So. I do find with whatever texture this particular paper is, and I do think it's the recycled Bristol board, it's got just enough texture that it kind of sometimes interferes with how the pen wants to move. versus using the smoother Bristol boards. So something to keep in mind if you're working on your own projects. Draw a little temple vein in Ricky's forehead. Okay, one more frame. I've made these letters too big. Shit. Yeah. I will have to redo that line so I can fit in the 50%, but that's okay. Because it needs to say now with 50% more comic book placements. So that's fine. I will kind of measure and trace and do it on another piece of paper, and then when I scan, it'll be photoshopped in. But I will see if I can do book placements correctly, because it doesn't look like I have spaced that correct, but we'll see. I mean, it does say now with more comic book placements, but I really specifically wanted to say now with 50% more. But anyways, that can be redone later. So that is our last page of the day. Let's have a review of what has been done today. So I got 3 pages done. The first was Ricky's boss, Big Mike, has gone away to Hawaii to work, air quotes. So there he is, clearly not working, and then that gives Ricky time to work on his submarine. So he's in the shed where he has all the broken amplifier and drum parts that Big Mike told him to get rid of, and he's put them in the garden shed at his mom's house, and so he's in there working on it. He gets all caught up with the duct tape there. So then that leads to the ad, as I pick it up off the ground, for Sticky Rat Duct Tape. I am not thrilled with how this page turned out. I will end up redrawing it. I like how duct tape turned out, though. That lettering, I think, is pretty good. But, you know, that's the idea. I want to have more of a calligraphy sort of thing, but also, you know how some of the fonts on calligraphy, they have the different little lines that go through them and whatnot. I want it to sort of be dense like that, because I want it to almost look like the letters are sticking to themselves, kind of like the duct tape sticks to Ricky's face. Anyways, so that page will get redone. And then we finally have Ricky noticing the stupid ads, which have been going on not since page 1, but since about 5 or 6 pages in to the story. So he has questions. What's with all these effing ads in my book? Well, another ad pops up to explain it to him. Well, not so much explain it to him, but try and sell him an ad blocker. And then he's getting really pissed at this point and wants to know who's in charge of the damn ads. Well, it's an ad for the ad rep, Booker J. Cashmore. Like I said, I will redo that, I think. And then in our next stream, which hopefully be next Friday, then we will work from there. And there's like a little, I think is it 4 or 5 pages where Ricky interrogates the ad dealer. Now, we did have a request. Honey Train was asking about Buzz the Bee from Honey Nut Cheerios, who I have never drawn. I have a vague recollection of what he looks like, but I'm going to have to look up a reference. Honey Nut Cheerios mascot. Okay, so a bunch of different renderings over the years, but let's see here. Basic features, working off this one reference image, it will be kind of like that. The big bug eyes, and the eyebrows, antennas. And they do give him a little nose. Tiny little neck. And then the outfit with the t-shirt. They cheated him. He only has arms and legs and then wings. He's missing a set of legs or arms. Did at least remember the stinger. He's got his, I forget what they call it, the honey wand, the thing that has the slots in it so that the honey drips. A little wooden wand thing. And that is what we've got for the Buzz the Bee from Honey Nut Cheerios. And then, and like I said, I've said before, for any requests, it'll be after whatever I've got planned. So for this, I had 3 Ricky pages planned, and then it also depends on time. Like if I end up running over to finish what I had planned, then no, I won't be doing requests that day. Just throwing that out there. I've said it before. I don't want to harp on it, but otherwise, it's not fair to people who are who've tuned in to watch the thing if I interrupt in the middle. So at the end, it'll kind of be, it'll depend on the situation. So, anyways, there's something about Big Mike here that's kind of bothering me. I'm not entirely sure what. Partly because I usually draw him a little bit fatter than he looks here, but let's give him, yeah, some eye bags. I don't know why, but that seems to help. I don't normally, like at that size, I don't bother to draw the eye bags, but there it kind of makes sense. His head should probably be a little more round, whereas that's a little more oval, but whatever. So that then is going to be it for, there's something about Ricky getting all caught up with this duct tape all over his face and hands, and he kind of can't, especially because he's trying to keep what he's up to with the submarine secret from his mother. So he can't just yell, "Mama!" and have her help him get this stuff off, right? He's kind of, that's probably why he ended up with his tools stuck to the wall, is that he's kind of like been smearing on the wall to get the tape off of him. Anyways, so that is it for tonight's live stream. Next week, as far as I know, I'm streaming next Friday night. We'll find out closer to the time, but I'm pretty sure I should be able to make it. So then next week, we will continue on with Ricky versus the ad rep, and hopefully get 3 pages done again. And like I said, we are chugging along towards the end of, well, the end of the book will take a little longer because I've got stuff from the last third of the book that I'm not going to do on camera that I need to get done. But we are definitely getting closer in terms of what's going to be done on stream to the end. And should wrap up with this book in the next month to 6 weeks. And then, like I said, we'll be moving on to the next Ricky B, the Rock and Roll Rat graphic novel. So in terms of upcoming schedule, there's not going to be a recap video tomorrow. Next week, I think there's a couple of longer Draw With Me videos. I know I've already filmed the one for Tuesday, and I think the one for Monday is going up. And then I have to see what about the other 2 weeks. The week after, I'm going to start having the kind of Draw With Me stuff. It'll just be shorts, like really sped up. And then the Friday stream, and sometime in August, we'll start possibly doing some other types of videos as well. So anyways, blah, blah, blah. That's that schedule. Hope you've enjoyed tonight's stream, and we will see you again, whether it's live or pre-recorded, long or short. We will see you again real soon. So bye for now.